In the heart of Accra, where the sun painted the skyline gold, Kofi Mensah stood in the marble-floored hallway of his OSU mansion. One hand adjusted his cufflinks, the other gripped his car keys. He was late for a critical business meeting at the Movenpick Hotel, where investors awaited his signature on a multi-billion Saudi real estate deal. His tailored suit gleamed under the chandelier, but his steps halted abruptly. Kneeling before him on the polished tiles was Ye, the housemaid, her eyes red and her hands clasped tightly. "Sir, please," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Don't go to that meeting today. Something terrible will happen if you do." Kofi froze, his brow furrowing. "Yeah, what are you talking about?" Her gaze didn't waver. "I had a dream, sir. You were in that suit, stepping into your car. There was an explosion. People were screaming your name. Blood everywhere. Please, don't go." The air grew heavy. Kofi's phone buzzed in his pocket. Kwame, his business partner, no doubt impatient. He glanced at Ye, her small frame shaking with conviction. This wasn't a joke. Her fear was real, raw, unlike anything he'd seen in his years of wealth and power. "Get up," he said, his voice low but firm. "This isn't the time for this." Ye pressed her hands to the floor. "I know I'm just a maid, sir, but I can't stay silent. If you go, you won't come back." Footsteps clicked down the spiral staircase. Adwoa, Kofi's wife, descended in a silk robe, her face already flawless with makeup. She stopped, eyeing Ye with disdain. "What's this nonsense?" she asked coldly. "She says I shouldn't go to the meeting," Kofi replied, still watching Ye. Adwoa scoffed, folding her arms. "And you're listening to her? A maid? Kofi, you have billions on the line today. Contracts. Investors. You're going to let this girl's dreams stop you?" Ye lowered her head. "I'm sorry, madam, but I had to speak." "Speak?" Adwoa snapped. "You're here to clean, not prophesy. Kofi, tell her to move." Kofi raised a hand, silencing his wife. Something in Ye's voice, its quiet certainty, stirred a feeling he couldn't ignore. A tightness gripped his chest, a warning without words. He stepped back, placed his keys on the glass table, and turned away from the door. "I'm not going." Adwoa's mouth fell open. "You're what?" "I'm not going," he repeated, his voice steady. He walked to the living room, sat on the leather couch, and stared at the floor. Ye rose slowly, wiping her face, and disappeared with a tray. Adwoa hissed, stormed upstairs, muttering about her foolishness. Kofi sat in silence, his heart racing, wondering why a maid's warning felt more real than the deal he'd spent months preparing for. Kofi Mensah wasn't just wealthy, he was a titan in Accra's real estate scene. Co-founder of Apex Properties, he and his best friend Kwame Boateng had built an empire from a tiny office in Lab 1. Kofi was the strategist, calm and deliberate, while Kwame was the charmer, sealing deals with a smile and a handshake. Their friendship was legendary, a story told at every industry gala, two boys from Nima who turned dreams into skyscrapers. But beneath the surface, cracks existed. Kwame loved the spotlight, parties, interviews, flashy cars. Kofi preferred quiet boardrooms and calculated risks. Still, Apex thrived, with projects dotting across skyline from Airport City to East Legon. At home, Kofi's life looked perfect. Adwoa, his wife of 5 years, was a vision, elegant, poised, always dressed like she stepped out of a fashion magazine. Their mansion, with its infinity pool and imported art, was the envy of their circle. Social media called them couple goals, but behind closed doors, the warmth had faded. Adwoa loved luxury, not labor. She didn't cook, didn't clean, and fired maids for the smallest infractions, too slow, too loud, too present. Kofi stopped arguing. He buried himself in work, seeking peace in contracts and blueprints. Then came Ye. She arrived one evening, recommended by a distant cousin. Small, unassuming, with braided hair and a plain dress, she worked silently and efficiently. She cleaned without complaint, cooked jollof that rivaled the best restaurants, and never touched what wasn't hers. Even Adwoa, who never praised anyone, admitted, she's not as useless as the others. Kofi noticed her too, not romantically, but with curiosity. In a house full of noise and pretense, Ye was a quiet anchor. Kofi sat in the living room, his phone silent beside his keys. The investors' meeting should have started by now, but he couldn't shake Ye's warning. His phone buzzed again, Kwame. He ignored it. Then another call, this time from his office assistant, ESI. Sir, her voice cracked through the line, there's been an accident. Your driver, Kojo, took your Range Rover to the hotel as planned. A fuel tanker lost control on Liberation Road. The car, it's gone. Smashed. Kojo's in the hospital, critical. We thought you were inside. Kofi's grip tightened on the phone. The exact car. The exact route. The exact time. He lowered the device, staring at the wall. If he hadn't listened to Ye, he'd be in that wreck, or worse. Adwoa appeared, scrolling through her phone. You're still here, she asked, unbothered. There was an accident, Kofi said quietly. Kojo took the car. A tanker hit it. Her hand paused mid-scroll. And if I'd gone, I might be dead. She rolled her eyes. Accidents happen, Kofi. Don't turn this into some spiritual drama. He studied her calm face, her lack of concern. No shock, no relief. Just indifference. I'm keeping Ye, he said. Adwoa's eyes narrowed. What? She stays. She saved my life. She's a maid, Kofi, not a priestess. She's too bold, too comfortable. I don't trust her. She stays, he repeated, his tone final. Adwoa stared, then turned and walked away, leaving a trail of perfume and tension. The house grew colder in the days that followed. Kofi spoke less, watched more. Adwoa's dismissive attitude gnawed at him. She avoided Ye, changed the subject whenever the accident came up, and spent hours on her phone, her laughter sharp and secretive. Kofi's instincts, honed by years of reading boardrooms, told him something was wrong. One evening, as he reviewed contracts at the dining table, Ye approached to clear dishes. She leaned close, pretending to adjust a napkin. Sir, she whispered, don't sign any papers this week. Kofi's pen froze. Why? I had another dream. You signed documents, and everything fell apart. Your company, your accounts, gone. Police came. You were in handcuffs for something you didn't do. Before he could respond, Adwoa re-entered, and Ye slipped away. Her words lingered, heavy and unshakable. 2 days later, Kwame visited, all grins and cologne. "Brother, you scared us with that accident," he said, clapping Kofi's shoulder. "Good thing you listened to that maid, eh? Prophetess, yeah." He laughed, but his eyes darted nervously. "The Dubai deal is still on," Kwame continued. "Just need your signature." "Big money, Kofi." "Send the documents," Kofi said, his voice neutral. That night, the files arrived. Kofi opened them and froze. The numbers were wrong, land values lower than agreed, payouts routed to an unfamiliar offshore account. Yas' warning echoed, "Don't sign." He locked the files away and called a trusted auditor. What they uncovered was devastating. Kwame had been siphoning funds for years, hiding millions under fake projects. At home, Edwoa's hostility toward Ya grew. "She's too quiet," she complained, slamming a drawer. "She's plotting something. She needs to go." "She's staying," Kofi said, his voice like steel. "You're choosing a maid over me?" Edwoa's eyes blazed. "I'm choosing my peace." That night, Kofi overheard Edwoa on the phone, her voice low but frantic. "Kwame, I can't do this anymore. He's protecting her. She's ruining everything. You said marrying him would get us the company, the money. We've been planning for years, and now this maid." Kofi's blood ran cold. He didn't confront her. Instead, he hired a private investigator. The next morning, Edwoa announced she was visiting her sick aunt in Kumasi. Kofi nodded, saying nothing. By noon, updates came. She hadn't gone to Kumasi. She checked into a boutique hotel in cantonments under a false name. Kwame arrived shortly after, slipping into her room. Kofi drove to the hotel, his face unreadable. He paid the receptionist for a key and entered room 312. There they were, Edwoa in a robe, Kwame lounging on the bed. They froze as Kofi stepped in, closing the door. "Explain," he said, his voice dangerously calm. Edwoa stammered. Kwame tried to smile. "Brother, it's not." "Don't," Kofi cut him off. To Edwoa, "You married me for this? For my money?" Her eyes burned. "You were never here, Kofi. Always working. I deserved more. And you," Kofi turned to Kwame, "stole from me while calling me brother." He left them in silence, the door clicking shut behind him. Kofi returned home and sat in his study, the weight of betrayal crushing him. He called his lawyer and accountant, divorce papers for Edwoa, a buyout for Kwame's shares. The mansion felt like a tomb, every luxury a reminder of lies. Ya continued her work, quiet as ever, serving meals Kofi barely touched. The day the divorce papers arrived, signed by Edwoa without protest, he felt no relief, only emptiness. One evening, Ya entered the living room. "I'm leaving tomorrow," she said softly. Kofi's heart sank. "Why?" "My work here is done." "You saved me," he said, his voice breaking. "You're the only one who didn't lie." "I wasn't sent to stay," she replied. "I was sent to protect you. You listened. Now you're ready to start again, with your eyes open." She smiled, a quiet promise of hope. "Live well, sir. Trust slowly. Love carefully." Then she left, her footsteps fading into the night. A year later, Kofi stood taller. Apex Properties flourished under his solo leadership, with new branches in Tima and Kumasi. He vetted every partner, rejected shady deals, and mentored young talent. The scars remained, but they no longer bled. Love returned quietly, through a teacher he met at a literacy fundraiser. She cared for his heart, not his wealth. Under a cross-story sky, holding her hand, Kofi felt peace, real, unbroken peace. Somewhere in a modest Medina home, Yah stepped out of a taxi, her plain dress unchanged. A weary woman answered the door, eyes heavy with worry. "Are you the counselor?" she asked. "No," Yah said with a gentle smile. "I'm the housemaid." Inside, a family teetered on the edge of collapse, secrets threatening to unravel them. But Yah had arrived, and where she went, truth followed.